Have you ever felt overwhelmed by anger? Have you spent hours replaying something someone said or did, letting it ruin your whole day? If this keeps happening, maybe it's time to break this cycle. Because, in the end, the one who suffers the most is you. Anger doesn't hurt the person who offended you. It hurts you. While you're stuck in negative thoughts, filled with frustration and irritation, the other person often goes on with their life, totally unaware of the effect they had on you. So why waste your energy on that? What if I told you that you can become unshakable? That it's possible not to care about what others say or do, no matter how disrespectful they are. Stoicism teaches us that real strength comes from learning to manage our emotions. No one can offend us without our permission. No one can throw us off balance unless we let them. Today, you're going to learn 7 Stoic lessons that will help you stop wasting time on anger and frustration. These lessons were followed by some of the wisest men in history, like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. And now, you can apply them to transform your own life. But pay attention. This isn't about ignoring or suppressing your feelings or pretending nothing bothers you. The key is to control how you react, so other people's behavior doesn't steal your inner peace. Imagine what it would be like to live more lightly, not getting upset over small criticisms, not getting dragged into arguments or complaints. This is totally possible. So stay with me until the end, because each of these lessons builds on the next, creating a mental shield that will protect your peace and help you become emotionally unshakable. Let's start with the first lesson. Lesson 1. Anger is a choice, so choose peace. Have you ever lost control and exploded with anger, only to regret it later? Or kept thinking about a negative comment that bothered you, only to realize it wasn't worth it? The good news is that anger isn't something automatic. It's a choice. If you learn to manage it, you'll become a much stronger, calmer person who can stay composed in any situation. Picture this. You're driving, and suddenly someone cuts you off without using their turn signal. Your first reaction might be anger. You want to honk, yell, maybe even speed up to get back at them. But before doing anything, stop and ask yourself, is it worth losing my peace over this? How many times have you gotten angry in traffic and when you finally arrived where you were going, realized that none of that anger helped? It only made you feel worse? If you had just taken a deep breath and let it go, everything else would be the same, except your mood, which would still be calm. So before reacting, try counting to 3 and ask yourself, will this frustration make my life better? If the answer is no, let it go. Maybe that person was in a hurry, distracted, or didn't mean to upset you. You don't need to carry that anger for the rest of the day. Choosing not to react is a real act of strength. Seneca said that it's not things themselves that upset us, but how we choose to see them. For example, if someone criticizes you, you can take it as a personal attack and get angry, or you can see it as a chance to learn and grow. If someone says something that bothers you, you have 2 options. React impulsively and drain your energy, or pause, think, and decide if it's even worth your time. Next time you get criticized, ask yourself, does this person have something useful to teach me? If the criticism has no point, ignore it. If it's helpful, use it to improve. Respond calmly, without raising your voice. That shows real control and emotional intelligence. Instead of letting someone drag you into an unnecessary fight, make the choice to protect your peace. Epictetus taught that if someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, the one who ends up frustrated is them, not you. People who try to upset you are expecting a reaction. When you don't give it to them, their provocation loses all power. So next time someone tries to annoy you, try not reacting at all. Watch how silence can instantly stop any argument. When you stay calm, the other person realizes they can't control you. Indifference is one of the strongest defenses against anyone trying to shake you. Marcus Aurelius used a mental exercise to keep his inner peace. Before starting his day, he reminded himself that he would likely meet rude, ungrateful, and unfair people. And because of that preparation, when it happened, he didn't get surprised or angry. You can do the same. Before leaving home, say to yourself, today I might face difficulties, but I won't let them affect me. And when something annoying happens, remind yourself that you were ready for it, and stay calm. Anger is always a choice, but you can choose something better. You can choose to be stronger than provocations, wiser than insults, and smarter than offense. Every time you feel anger rising, say to yourself, this doesn't control me, I choose peace. Also, practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what's bothering you, think of something good that happened today. Managing anger isn't always easy, but with effort and practice, you can become someone emotionally strong, someone who stays calm no matter what, and chooses peace every single day. Second lesson, no one controls your feelings but you. With time and practice, you'll realize that becoming emotionally balanced is a skill you can develop. It's not about being perfect. It's about making conscious choices about how you respond to what happens around you. Have you ever had someone say something that ruined your entire day? Or had someone's behavior make you so angry that you couldn't think about anything else? When that happens, it means, whether you realize it or not, you gave that person the power to affect your emotions. But what if you could take that power back and decide for yourself what is or isn't worth your peace of mind? Imagine this. You're at work, focused on what you need to do, and a coworker makes a sarcastic comment about something you did. Right away, your heart starts racing. Anger builds up, and you feel the urge to fire back. But before reacting, stop and ask yourself, does this comment define who I am? Does it really change my worth or how good I am at what I do? If the answer is no, then why let it get to you? What you feel is fully in your hands. No one can affect you without your permission. The secret is in how you choose to see and react to things. If someone tries to get under your skin and you respond in the same way, they win, because they got to you. But if you stay calm or ignore it, you keep the power. Here's another common situation. You're driving, and suddenly, a reckless driver cuts in front of you without signaling. In the heat of the moment, you may feel like honking, yelling, or speeding up to get back at them. But will that fix anything? That person might not even realize what they did, or maybe they just don't care. So why waste your energy on something you can't control? If you asked yourself before reacting, is this really worth my peace? How many times would the answer be no? This simple question can save you a lot of stress and help you stay calm, even around difficult people. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said that the problem isn't what happens to us, but how we look at it. In other words, it's not the event itself that upsets you, but the meaning you give to it. If someone criticizes you, you can take it as a personal attack and feel hurt, or you can calmly think about whether the criticism makes sense. If it does, you learn from it. If it doesn't, just let it go. Another important key to keeping emotional control is knowing the difference between what you can and cannot change. You can control what you say, how you act, and how you think, but you can't control what others do or say. If someone is rude, that's their issue, not yours. Don't let someone else's bad behavior drag you down. And most of all, remember, no one has the power to make you feel anything unless you allow them to. Whether you get upset or stay calm is always your choice. And the more you practice this, the stronger and freer you become. Third lesson, the world won't follow your expectations. How many times have you felt frustrated because you expected someone to act a certain way and they did the opposite? Or because you did everything right, but things still didn't turn out as planned? The truth is, a lot of our frustration comes from believing that the world should go the way we want. But life doesn't follow the rules we create in our minds. It just happens. Here's an example. You go out of your way to help a friend through a hard time. You're there for them, give advice, and offer support. But when you need help, that same friend is nowhere to be found. Your first thought might be, that's so unfair. How can they be so ungrateful? But think about it. Was the problem their lack of gratitude, or was it your expectation that they would act like you did? Whenever we expect people to give back in the same way we give, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The solution? Do good because you want to, not because you expect something in return. If they appreciate it, great. If they don't, at least you didn't tie your happiness to their reaction. Another example, you're driving carefully, following all the rules. Then suddenly, someone runs a red light and nearly hits you. Your first thought might be, people should respect the law. Sure, they should, but not everyone does. If you leave the house expecting everyone to drive perfectly, every mistake will make you angry. But if you accept that there will always be careless drivers, you'll be less affected. You'll be ready to handle it rather than get upset that it happened. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors and a famous Stoic philosopher, had an interesting habit. Every morning, he reminded himself that throughout the day, he would meet rude, ungrateful, and unfair people. He didn't do this to be negative, but to prepare himself. So when those people showed up, he wasn't surprised or upset. He was ready. This doesn't mean you should accept everything and never stand up for what's right. It just means you should accept reality and focus on what you can change. If something is beyond your control, it's not worth getting worked up over. The key to a lighter life is to trade expectation for acceptance. Instead of hoping the world will do what you want, learn to adjust to what really happens. You'll suffer less, get angry less, and live much more peacefully. You can prepare yourself for the day before it even starts. Before getting out of bed, try this simple mental exercise. Say to yourself, "Today I might face delays, disagreements, criticism, and even unfairness, but none of that will steal my peace." It may seem like a small habit, but it makes a huge difference. When you prepare for possible problems, they don't catch you off guard. You stop reacting with anger or frustration and start handling things with calm. When tough situations happen, and you can be sure they will happen, but instead of getting upset, you'll remember that you were already expecting something like this, and you'll be able to handle it in a much calmer way. Now think about something more personal. You've always treated someone with respect and kindness, but that person hurt you, said something rude, or just walked away without a reason. Your first thought might be, "I didn't deserve this." But the truth is, people don't always act the way we think they should. Everyone has their own way of thinking, their own values and priorities. Just because you treat people well doesn't mean they'll do the same for you. Does that mean you should accept any kind of behavior without saying anything? No. And it doesn't mean you have to stop hoping for good behavior from others. But when someone lets you down, instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" try asking, "What does this show me about who they are?" By shifting your mindset, you stop expecting too much from others and start seeing them for who they truly are. That way, you decide if it's worth keeping that person close or not. What you shouldn't do is try to change them or expect them to fit into what you think is right. Expect it. Don't just hope for it. The key to avoiding disappointment is to prepare yourself. Instead of hoping that people will act the way you want, get ready to deal with them as they really are. The world doesn't follow your rules, and accepting that gives you way more strength than holding on to the idea that you can control everything. Lesson 4. Don't be a slave to your emotions. Who hasn't lost their cool in a moment of anger and regretted it later? Who hasn't said something without thinking and then realized it wasn't worth it? We've all been there. But the good news is, we can learn to control our emotions before they take over us. Think about a heated argument. Someone pushes your buttons and you feel your heart racing, your body tensing up, and the urge to snap back. But before saying anything, pause for a second and ask yourself, what would a wise person do right now? The truth is, reacting in the heat of the moment can cause a lot of damage. A careless word can break a relationship. A quick decision made out of anger can ruin your reputation. And often when the anger fades, all that's left is regret. So when you notice you're about to lose control, take a deep breath. That simple act gives you a few seconds for your reason to kick in before you say or do something you'll wish you hadn't. If you need to, walk away for a bit and only return when you're calmer. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "If something outside upsets you, it's not the thing itself that bothers you, but how you think about it." In other words, it's not what happens that makes you suffer, but how you choose to see it. Now, imagine someone gives you harsh feedback, maybe even unfair. Your first instinct is to argue, defend yourself, or attack back. But what would that solve? Often, real strength is shown by staying calm, taking in only what's useful, and ignoring the rest. Next time someone criticizes you, try this. Instead of reacting right away, pause and ask, "Does this make sense?" If yes, learn from it. If not, just let it go. Lesson 5. How to handle fear. Another feeling that can hold us back is fear. Imagine you have a big challenge ahead, maybe a presentation, a hard conversation, or an important decision. Your heart races, your mind imagines everything going wrong, and you feel like quitting. But fear only has power over you if you allow it. Stoicism teaches that being brave doesn't mean never feeling fear. It means taking action despite the fear. Every time you feel afraid, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Most of the time, you'll realize that even the worst-case scenario isn't as bad as you thought. And even if it is, you can find a way to deal with it. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, said that emotions are not our enemies, but if we don't control them, they can control us. Feeling angry, scared, or frustrated is human. The problem is when we let those feelings decide for us. So throughout your day, practice noticing what you feel. Whenever a strong emotion comes up, don't react right away. Take a breath and ask yourself if that feeling deserves your attention. If the answer is no, let it pass. Your energy is precious. Don't waste it. Have you ever spent hours thinking about a silly comment someone made? Or gotten mad over something small, only to realize at the end of the day that it wasn't worth it? This happens because often we hold on to little things without even noticing. But here's the truth. Life is too short to waste time on things that don't matter. Think about it. You start your day enjoying a nice cup of coffee, feeling good. But then, on your way to work, someone cuts you off in traffic without signaling. Your first instinct might be to honk, yell, or get angry. But what does that change? Nothing. The only thing that changes is your mood, for the worse. Every time something small threatens to ruin your day, ask yourself, does this really matter? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Staying calm doesn't mean accepting everything without thinking. It means choosing your battles wisely. The energy you spend getting upset over small things could be used for something way more useful. So next time someone or something tries to disturb your peace, remember this. You always have the choice not to react, and that's one of the greatest kinds of freedom you can have. If you let little things get under your skin, you're basically handing over control of your peace to random situations. So, when something like that happens again, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this really worth my attention? Most of the things that annoy us don't really matter in the long run. Picture a regular day at work. You're focused on an important task, and suddenly someone interrupts you with a silly question. Or maybe your boss asks you for something at the last minute. You start feeling annoyed, but before reacting, pause and think, will getting mad fix this? If the answer is no, just accept it and move on. If it's something you can fix quickly, take care of it. If not, let it go. Don't waste your energy. Complaining or stressing out only makes things worse. As Marcus Aurelius used to say, if it's up to you, handle it. If it's not, don't worry about it. Now think about the time you spend on social media. How many times have you argued with someone just because they had a different opinion, or got mad at a pointless comment? Ask yourself, will I even remember this next week? If the answer is no, it's probably not worth your time. Seneca once said, we waste much of our life worrying about small things. And he was absolutely right. Every minute you spend being angry over tiny details is a minute less of happiness and productivity. So next time something bothers you, zoom out for a moment. Imagine yourself a year from now thinking about this situation. Will this really matter? Living this way doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means knowing when to fight and when to save your energy for what truly matters. You can react to everything, or you can choose to focus on what's really important. Lesson 6. Not everything needs a response. The power of silence. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a pointless argument that went nowhere? Have you ever felt exhausted trying to convince someone who simply won't listen? The truth is, not everything deserves a reply. Sometimes silence is way stronger than any comeback or argument. Imagine you're at work and a coworker makes a snarky comment like, "Wow, you still haven't finished that? You're really slow today." Your first reaction might be to fire back, explain yourself, or be sarcastic. But what will that solve? If you answer, you're playing their game and giving life to the conflict. But if you ignore it and keep working, their comment loses all its power. Most of the time, people who try to provoke you want a reaction. If you don't give them that satisfaction, they lose interest and give up. Epictetus said, if someone insults you and you don't feel offended, then they insulted themselves. That means an insult only has power if you let it affect you. If someone tries to provoke you and you stay quiet, the only uncomfortable one is them. Think about social media. How often do you see endless fights in the comments? How many times have you felt like answering someone who disagreed with you or attacked you? Before jumping into any argument, ask yourself, will this really change anything? If not, let it go. Don't waste your energy on something that won't add anything to your life. Silence can bother people more than any reply, because it shows that you're not controlled by others' opinions. Silence is also a powerful tool in conflicts. If someone criticizes you in front of others, hoping you'll defend yourself, just look at them calmly for a few seconds without saying a word. That creates an awkward moment, flips the situation, and often makes the person feel exposed. Sometimes the best answer is a calm and confident look. Marcus Aurelius had a habit of avoiding useless arguments. He knew that time and energy are too valuable to waste on meaningless fights. So if someone criticizes, insults, or provokes you, ask yourself, does this person deserve my time and attention? If the answer is no, walk away without caring. The truth is, you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to explain yourself all the time, and you don't have to react to every little provocation. Sometimes, silence shows more strength, wisdom, and emotional control than any words. Lesson 7. Focus on what you can control. Have you ever felt frustrated about something you couldn't change? Have you wasted time complaining about a situation instead of focusing on what you could actually do? If so, know that this is one of the biggest emotional traps, but it's something you can start changing right now. Stoicism teaches that the key to a peaceful life is simple. Focus only on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Doing this helps you feel less anxious, avoid unnecessary frustration, and become stronger. Now imagine you're stuck in traffic and it suddenly starts raining hard. Cars stop moving, and you realize you're going to be late for something important. What do? Complain about the rain? Get mad at the other drivers? Will that fix anything? What truly matters in situations like this is how you choose to react. You can't control the weather or other drivers, but you can control how you respond. Instead of getting upset about what's out of your hands, decide to focus your energy on what you can change, your attitude, your patience, and how you deal with the moment. Stoicism reminds us that our inner peace depends on focusing on what's within our reach. By accepting that some things are beyond our control, we can let go of the emotional burden of these situations and put our energy into what really matters for our well-being and peace of mind. Now, imagine handling situations in a different way. Instead of getting stressed over what you can't control, you accept what happened and focus on what you can do. If you're running late, you can let others know. You could use the waiting time to listen to an interesting podcast or reflect on something important in your life. It could even be a chance to pause, take a deep breath, and relax for a moment. The difference between someone who gets stressed and someone who stays calm is where each person decides to put their attention. And this doesn't just happen in traffic. Think about a situation at work. You worked hard on a project, gave it your best, but in the end, your boss chose someone else to get the credit. Your first reaction might be to get angry, feel it's unfair, and think no one values you. But ask yourself, will that change anything? What can you control in that moment? Your effort, your dedication, and your search for new opportunities. You can choose to waste your energy holding a grudge, or you can decide to use that energy to improve yourself and move forward. The same idea applies to personal relationships. Many times we want people to treat us a certain way, to appreciate us, and to act with kindness and respect. But how others act is not up to us. Even if you're an amazing person, sometimes you'll be treated unfairly or even badly by someone. What is under your control is how you respond. You can choose to get upset and hold on to resentment, or you can decide to accept that people have their own way of being and move on, without holding on to expectations that are often unrealistic. Focusing on what you can control is one of the greatest forms of freedom you can have. After all, no one can take away your inner peace unless you let them. When you notice something is bothering you, pause and ask yourself, what can I do in this situation? That way, you'll know where to put your energy. You have the power to choose how to respond. You can choose to walk away from people who don't value you. You can choose not to let other people's behavior affect you, but you can't control how others act. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "Don't try to control what isn't up to you. Focus on what is." This simple shift in mindset can bring powerful changes to your life. So now, start practicing this way of thinking in your daily life. Every time you notice yourself worrying or stressing about something, ask, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, let it go and move forward, focusing on what you can do. If the answer is yes, take action with confidence and determination. I want to congratulate you for watching until the end. The fact that you're here, looking to improve your life and learn more, already puts you ahead of most people. It shows that you're committed to growing and building a stronger and more balanced mindset. Now tell me, what was your biggest insight from this video? Leave your comment below. And if you don't have anything specific to share, just write, "I'll be mindful," so I know you watched until the end. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos, which will definitely help you become emotionally stronger and live with more wisdom. To keep learning about Stoicism, I've left 2 more videos on the screen with lessons that will change the way you see the world. Pick one and keep growing. See you in the next video.